Hi, everybody, and welcome to Spa Babies, presented by Stonestreet. I'm Dan Illman, along with Nicole Russo. Let's throw up the field for the closing day feature on Monday. It's also the Monday DRF race of the day, the Grade 1 $300,000 hopeful 7/8 of a mile on dirt. These 2-year-olds hopeful to take their next step on the way to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Yeah, and this is one of my favorite races of the year because doesn't the name just say it all? That's what we are when we're talking about these 2-year-olds across the course of Spa Babies this season and across the course of the year. We're hopeful. We're looking for a future standout. And when you look at the list of winners of the Hopeful Stakes, and it's more than a century of history, you see some of the names of the great horses of the past, and you're hopeful that maybe this year the winner is one that will join them. It's exciting. This sport always has you looking forward, and really this race sums up all of that to me.
Many thanks to our sponsor, Stonestreet, throughout this 2024 Spa Baby season. Stonestreet's represented by the 4 Tough Catch by Complexity, Stonestreet Bred, and of course, Complexities by McLean's Music, a Stonestreet homebred, wowed in his debut and has been a really good sire, and looks like he could be a sire of sires.
Yeah, with a couple of good sons going at stud now, including Complexity, currently the leading freshman sire. We'll talk a bit more about him. And Stonestreet's 2-time Horse of the Year, Curlin, also a leading sire, represented as the broodmare sire of a stakes winner in this field, Studley Dght. So Stonestreet's long association with a number of leading sires represented all over this field.
These 2-year-olds going 7/8 of a mile. Only one of them has actually raced this distance in the past. Stamina could be the key. We do expect some speed as we throw up our Timeform US pace projector. And the number 7, Menty, the full brother to Travers winner and last year's 2-year-old champion Fierceness, showed big speed on debut, has been freshened since that race, and he's expected to be up close. But the 4 Tough Catch was a speedy debut winner as well.
Yeah, and Tough Catch, as we'll discuss, showed good professionalism in that debut. So several that I expect to show speed here, and we'll talk a bit more as we go horse by horse about who that could benefit.
And if this pace gets very hot, keep an eye on the 8, Chancer McPatrick, who rallied from well off of the pace to capture his debut for trainer Chad Brown. He is the fastest Timeform US late pace rating. We'll kick things off with a first-time starter of all things in the Grade 1 hopeful. Talk about hopeful. It's Mr. Mendelslew, shipping up from Laurel Park for Carlos Mancia. This one is by Mendelssohn, a $20,000 yearling. The dam was a Grade 2 stakes winner going longer on the turf. She's a half to Slew's Answer, a stakes-winning turf router. Note the asterisk next to Slew's Answer's name. It denotes that that one was a debut winner. This is a nice pedigree, but it's a very tough spot for a first-time starter, to say the least.
Yeah, that's absolutely the knock against this horse here. A lovely pedigree for a first-time starter, some precocity in the pedigree. Mendelssohn, like so many of the scat daddies, a versatile runner, a versatile sire, a Grade 1 winner himself at 2, and a good 2-year-old sire. If this horse were in a maiden special weight, we would take a hard look at him, but a debut starter in the hopeful, that's a very tall order.
Up next is the number 2, Ferocious, and a lot of eyes have been on Ferocious pretty much since day one. He breezed a furlong in 9 4 prior to selling for $1.3 million in March, and the son of Flatter did not disappoint in his career debut. Let's watch that race over a muddy track. Ferocious didn't break the best from the rail draw, but hustled up to find a good position behind a reasonable pace, gets to the outside in the stretch, and the best part of this run is what you're going to see right now, the final 16th of a mile where he powers home.
Yeah, he was off a bit slow, as you mentioned, but then recovered very professionally and was right there when Castellano called on him. Finished up in a way that would suggest going from 6 furlongs to 7 is well within his scope. Nice to see stalwart Flatter from the AP Indy line, but also a horse that can give you some one-turn ability with a potential star among his final crops. And this horse is from a deep Juddmonte family that produced a Grade 1 winning sprinter and obligatory as well.
And in the race we just saw, Ferocious earned the highest 2-year-old buyer speed figure of 2024, a whopping 96, over that muddy track. Wayne Lucas trains the 3 Innovator. Manny Franco will ride the $900,000 yearling purchased by Authentic. Although still a maiden, he's been competitive with a horse in this race, Tough Catch, finishing second to that runner 2 back. As you can see, this is a strong pedigree. The dam was a multiple stakes winner. She's foaled a couple of black type runners. Now let's watch Innovator's most recent start. Third at lifetime outing, showed much improved speed. I thought he got pretty loose on the backstretch, drifts off the inside, turning for home. He'll end up finishing second. He continues to show improvement from a Beyer scale, and maybe this time around he'll take back and let others do the dirty front-running work.
Yeah, and he's faced some tough horses throughout his career. That horse he's running second to there in his most recent outing, Sandman, another 7-figure 2-year-old purchase who's likely bound for the Iroquois this coming month at Churchill Downs. In Innovator's second career start, as you mentioned, finished behind Tough Catch, who he'll meet again here. And then in his first career start, going 3 back, had a very troubled trip. And the race was won by Owen Almighty, who came back to be a stakes winner at Ellis. So Innovator has faced nice horses throughout his career.
The number 4 is Tough Catch, who showed good debut speed when beating Innovator, $280,000 2-year-old in training purchase by Complexity. Let's watch that debut. I like this performance for trainer Dallas Stewart and Luis Saez. Tough Catch went right to the lead, opened up at just the right time at the 3/16 pole. To Innovator's credit, who's racing in second right now, he never stops trying, and he almost gets Tough Catch under the line.
Yeah, and Tough Catch was not only speedy, but he was game and he was professional. He was bumped at the start. He rolled right along anyway, and then held well against a horse who, as I said, has faced stakes level competition. By Complexity, currently the leading freshman sire by earnings, 14 individual winners, including Mo Plex, a 2-time stakes winner at the Saratoga meet. Complexity was expected to do well with his 2-year-olds being a grade 1 winner around 1 turn at 2 himself, but he is just red hot.
The 5 is Smokin' Wicked, also trained by Dallas Stewart. This is a Louisiana bred, and he's done very well from 3 starts, hitting the board in all of them, winning his debut at Evangeline, getting a stakes placing at Churchill, and then running third in this race, the Saratoga Special. And this was a really nice experience builder for Smokin' Wicked, who sort of bounced around inside while trying to split horses, and yet still stays on for third behind the very promising Showcase.
Yeah, and I thought that was a very respectable effort in that Saratoga Special. It proved that his effort prior in the Bashford Manor, when he was able to close into a hot pace that sort of fell apart in front of him late for second, wasn't just a fluke. Faced maybe a higher quality of horses in the grade 2 Saratoga Special and delivered a very good effort and got a learning experience, as you said.
Bred for speed, top and bottom by an underrated stallion in Bobby's Wicked One. Studley Dght is up next, trained by Jerry Robb. He's been a mainstay in the Mid-Atlantic region for many, many years. Studley Dught's been a really nice story this year. He won his first 2 starts, including the Tremont during the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival at Saratoga, and then he ran a good second in the Sanford last time out. Another learning experience. Studley Dght, as we see in this race, is still far behind. He's in behind horses. Xavier Perez is going to get him to the far outside. He's a little bit green, very late to change leads, but I love the fact he never stops trying behind the extremely sharp Moplex.
Yeah, Moplex came back to win a New York bred stake last weekend at Saratoga. 3 Echoes third in both the Tremont and the Special came back to be stakes placed again in Kentucky. So these have been solid and productive 2-year-old races at Saratoga this summer. Looks like Studley Dght got a little freshening and then has been working along well at Laurel. Distance should be in the scope of this son of Nyquist out of a Curlin mare, and he's another one who could really benefit from a strong pace in front of him.
Although based at Laurel are really strong pedigrees by Nyquist, the dam was a stakes winner. Studley Dght likely to run on at the end. Menty is up next. A lot of eyes are going to be on Menty as the full brother to Fierceness, who just won the Travers. He is by City of Light. The dam is a half to a Wood Memorial winner in Outwork, and while Fierceness and Outwork work were fast horses. They also could carry at a distance of ground. Menty showed tremendous speed in his one and only start back in June. Let's watch that race for Todd Pletcher, Rapoli Stable, and John Velasquez. Menty was up 3 lengths in the blink of an eye, had 5 on the field at the 3/16 pole, and looks home free, and now starts to get just a little bit of the staggers, and the wire comes just in the bit of time.
Yeah, and I'd be curious to see what Menty had in him, if he had more in the tank, if he had seen that one coming, as he was sort of very confidently handled down the lane. That was a well-regarded horse coming at him late in Colloquial. Another one who on paper should handle the distance. We'll just have to see how the race shape suits him. He is taking a big jump from 5 furlongs to 7 off more than a 2-month break. Had an illness that caused him to miss a stakes engagement earlier in the meet. He's recovered. He's been working right along. And as always, encourage you to check out the Clocker reports produced by our colleague Mike Walsh and his team, who have worked so hard throughout this Saratoga season.
Chad Brown trains our final 2 entrants, beginning with the 8, Chancer McPatrick, a $725,000 son of Mackenzie. The dam one routing on dirt. This horse acts like he wants to go long, and he made his debut at a demanding 6.5 furlong distance. I thought he was very green in the early portion of this race. He fell back drastically in the opening quarter mile. Thankfully for Chancer McPatrick, as we watched the replay, the pace was hot. This track seemed to favor horses closing on the outside, and that's where Chancer McPatrick is. But he is really flying till about the final 16th of a mile when he hops back to his left lead. A good-looking performance. We always see 2-year-olds seemingly win in gate-to-wire fashion. This one did it in the manner of an older horse.
Yeah, and Chad Brown and Flavien Pratt have been a lethal combination this Saratoga meet. Flavien Pratt gave Chancer McPatrick a great ride in that July race. Looks like he's drawn well on the outside to have his mount running in the clear again. Another one who could benefit from a hot pace in front of him. And first crop sire Mackenzie. They're beautiful, racy, good-moving horses. Broodmare sire Bernardini, that's really where he's making his mark, is as an outstanding broodmare sire. Horses from his line also tend to be beautiful movers. I love this cross kind of from a physical standpoint.
And completing the field in the hopeful is Incentive Pay, who is also a favored debut winner for Chad Brown, coming from off of the pace, a $315,000 yearling by Volatile. Nice versatile pedigree, good trip in his debut. Let's watch Incentive Pay's victory back in July. Just down on the inside, the pace setter drifts out. That allows Incentive Pay to cut the corner, move on through, and go about his business. The 68 buyer seems a little bit light, but I think it's worth noting that the 4th place finisher from this race came back to win with a 76.
Yeah, and certainly horses can take big steps forward from race to race at this stage of their career. So I'm not going to knock a horse who's only had 1 start for having a lighter buyer in that start. As you know, you can see from the form of some other 2-year-olds at this stage that they can take a big leap forward from one day to the next. Volatile, another of this year's promising freshman sires, a Grade 1 winning sprinter himself. From the immediate family, actually, of the summer's Saratoga Special Winner Showcase, a ton of speed and precocity in the family, and he's got 8 individual winners so far from his first crop.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Grade 1 hopeful. We're both going to go with Ferocious. I mean, maybe he's the moto horse in this race. He sold for the big ticket. He looked good in his debut, and now he's going to have to face tougher horses, but I just really like the way he looks. I like the way he finished up that debut. I'm going to use him. I know Menty's layoff is a little bit of a concern, but I'm just expecting good speed. He'll be in the thick of things turning for home. I like the fact that you have Studley Dght in there because he's a little trier.
Absolutely. And honestly, Ferocious has the mold of what you expect from these horses in these big races at the end of the Saratoga meet. Certainly won his start in good style with that dazzling buyer speed figure. But honestly, the margin between these top 2 is razor thin for me because Studley Dght has done nothing wrong and could benefit from a good pace in front of him. If you're playing with multi-race wagers, I would definitely use both of these here.
Nicole's going 2, 6, 8, and 3. My multiple race plays would be the 2, the 7, and maybe a little bit of the 4 Tough Catch. I'm kind of still curious to see if he could stretch his speed from 5.5 to 7, but I did like the professionalism he showed in that debut. It's the final edition of 2024 Spa Babies, but thanks for watching, and we really appreciate Stonestreet's sponsorship. Best of luck.